So if you're a nerd like me, you more than likely have been hearing about Ubisoft a lot in the news recently, and it's not a good reason why you've been hearing them. Ubisoft has gone from a company that was worth $24 at its highest points on the stock market to now being worth $2 and being taken off of the stock market altogether because you have to be worth at least $1 to be on there. The question is, how did Ubisoft get here? What are the things that led up to this free fall of their stock market? And not only that, but gamers not really trusting in Ubisoft anymore. Because for the longest time, Ubisoft, at least before the HD war started, was beloved by everybody. The Prince of Persia games were amazing. The Far Cry games were seen as something that was a right step in the right direction for Ubisoft. But now we have Ubisoft that is from the new generation that has made so many mistakes and refuses to look at them. I think the prime example that I can give you of Ubisoft of how they had the world and how they could have conquered the world was at E3 when the PlayStation 4 and the new Xbox was going to launch. And they launched with Watch Dogs, which everybody was ecstatic, and they were like, this is the Ubisoft that we know, and this is the Ubisoft that we want, that not only shows us revolutionary gameplay that is really fun, but graphics that are top of the line and look like top shelf talent, which Ubisoft has and has always had. They are a talented division. They do have people that work there that make really good looking games and are capable of making good games. Fast forward to when the game comes out, and it was a complete disaster. It looked nothing like the E3 trailer. It played nothing like what the E3 trailer looked like. And of course, at that point, people were not surprised that Ubisoft was making subpar products. And look, I know before I say anything about this game, I know a lot of people love this game, but Assassin's Creed should be a kind of indicator of what Ubisoft is. They've always just put out games and given minimum effort because they were depending on people wanting to keep up with the story in order for them to buy the game. While they've had some diamonds in the rough with the Assassin's Creed games, they do still have issues. For example, one of the ones recently that came out that people like a lot is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. But at the same time, it kind of is too long. It does the Ubisoft thing of cramming so much stuff into it in order for people to do that nobody wants to do, but overstays its welcome. Yeah, that's a Ubisoft game in its finest. And mistakes and missteps are contagious, and Ubisoft has continued to make really bad games, or really mediocre games at that are very much, oh yeah, this is a Ubisoft game. And one of those games that has come out is Skull and Bones, which is supposed to be an expansion of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and it is such that game when it comes to its ship battles and cannon battles in that game was so unique and so different, was so fun, which by the way is another diamond in the rough that Ubisoft has made, but did the whole Ubisoft thing with just cramming the game with a bunch of things to do in order for you to not complain that it isn't in a sufficiently packed in the world, because they have the disease of making a game extremely open world and then not really having anything to do in it. So they cram these missions in it in order for it to like feel like it's valuable and worthwhile, when it just really feels like they crammed a bunch of crap in it. And Skull and Bones is indicative to what the mediocrity that Ubisoft has been doing recently. It's not fun, it's not unique, and it's costs money to play it. It's not even free to play. And with its latest blunder, Star Wars Outlaws, which has only sold 1 million copies since the month that it's launched, which is a disaster for a Star Wars IP. Keep in mind, they more than likely had this game tracking at 10 million copies. I would not doubt it, because it's a Star Wars game. We've been waiting for an open world Star Wars game like this for the longest time. And when it launched, it was a complete disaster, contrary to what people believe in Twitter or X or whatever the hell it's called. It's not because there was a woman in it, it's because it was a broken, unfinished game. They released a game that you could clip through the floor and fall into the world. They released a game that had no tutorials and showed you how that didn't show you how to do any of the things that you needed to do in the game. And it was also had a combat system that wasn't completed, which currently has a low score on Metacritic. It has like a 40 or 4.3 on Metacritic for fans and like a 70 for critics. And it's not surprising that Ubisoft has come to this. With all the mistakes that I've listed and all the things that they've done, this is the self-awareness that Ubisoft has. In today's challenging market and with games expecting extraordinary experiences, delivering solid quality is no longer enough. Use Guillemot. I said that name completely wrong, but that is the CEO of Ubisoft, taking zero accountability for his company and taking zero accountability for the fact that he's releasing broken games that people don't want. It's not hard releasing a game that people want to play. It's not hard. It really isn't, because the game that is there that they packaged together and that they put together was a great concept. The problem was that it was executed in a very lazy and a very rushed kind of way, because the desperateness in that game, that you could feel how desperate Ubisoft was releasing this game so quickly and without even dropping a day one patch that fixes all the things that are necessary to fix. This feels like a very cyberpunk launch. It feels like they wanted to get it out there because they needed the money, and they didn't get the money like the way Cyberpunk did. They only got 1 million copies, and because of that, Ubisoft has now put themselves in danger for them to not even be on the stock market or be counted at the stock market. And that is because they have the lack of self-reflection to understand a good game doesn't have to be extraordinary for people to play it. I played Vampire Survivor, which is this game where you just play as vampire executioners, and it's an arcade game, and you just kill a bunch of zombies or vampires, and it's probably one of the most fun games I've ever played. And from a triple A example that I can give you, Space Marine 40K Space Marine 2 is an example of how you give us a great game that is fun, that understands the lore, and is just finished. The game is finished, and that's the problem that is with Ubisoft's game. With Star Wars Outlaw in particular, it wasn't a finished game. The concept and everything that they had on there was amazing, was great, and it looked like it was going to be fun. But unfortunately, Ubisoft released a game that wasn't completed, and this is the culture that Ubisoft is now, and this is the way Ubisoft is seen. Exact fact of the matter is that the people that are going to comment in this video are more than likely going to say, this is why I don't buy Ubisoft games, and this is why I don't even consider them. I was one of those people that looked at Star Wars Outlaw and was like, this game looks really fun. But on top of the fact that they killed their own hype by locking story missions behind paid DLC for you having to pay an Ultimate Edition $100 or more in order to play the Ultimate Edition and get the locked DLC, killing the own hype of their game. And on top of that, when the game released, they were expecting word of mouth for people to be like, this game's great, you gotta go buy it, when it was unfinished and buggy and also had things missing in it. And again, it feels like a Cyberpunk issue where there's just elements of the games that isn't completed or just missing altogether, like tutorials and the fact that the melee system is completely broken. And I don't get any pleasure in saying this, considering this company has been around longer than I've been alive and has been a cornerstone to gamers, that they've made great games for the longest time now. Since I started playing games, Ubisoft has made good games, but it seems the last 20 years Ubisoft has really been either, oh, we're gonna make a really good game for a little bit, and then once we get comfortable, we're gonna give you shovelware all over again. And that's something that Ubisoft seems to not want to get away from. And again, it doesn't give me any pleasure to say this, but I will not be surprised if Ubisoft gets taken off of the stock market because their price plunges so hard. And I would not be surprised if somebody comes in and buys Ubisoft purely for their intellectual properties because they have so many of them, or just to use them as a company and restructure them and get rid of all the people that are in there. And the worst case scenario, Ubisoft just closes and sells off their IPs. These are all possibilities, and it's all because Ubisoft has zero self reflection and has zero issue with releasing horrible products. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comment section. How long has it been since you bought a Ubisoft game? Me personally, it was Assassin's Creed 3. I haven't bought a Ubisoft game since then. Actually, no. I did Gamefly another Assassin's Creed game, but I don't know if that counts or not. I think it was Assassin's Creed 4. But yeah, the one where you get the apple and you like nuke people. Anyhow, let me know what you like what game the last game you bought from Ubisoft, and remember, you're pretty good.